More than 2 months since Animal released and Sandeep Reddy Vanga is still trending on Twitter. Whether it's himself, the audience or even celebrities, no one can shut up about the film and the noise around the film refuses to die down. But in the middle of all this noise, I wanted to talk about some unpopular opinions I have about Animal, and number one is that whether you love it or hate it, Animal has changed things. The movie has made more than 900 crores at the worldwide box office to become the 8th highest grossing Indian film of all time. But the most interesting part is that even after 2 months since its release, people still can't stop talking about it. Did you watch Animal? Did you like it? How much did you hate it? When was the last time a film generated so much conversation after it released? I'm not saying Hindi cinema hasn't made any good films recently. Vidhu Vinod Chopra's 12th Fail was my absolute favorite film of last year. But I feel like in the last decade or so, Bollywood has become more obsessed with saying the correct things rather than saying interesting things. Maybe in an effort to impress people who are not their majority target audience. Films with political content or even minutely talking about any kind of religion is completely out of the question, which is understandable at this point of time. But apart from that, Bollywood seems to have lost its filmmakers and films that just don't give a f. When Rajamouli said on stage that the last time a filmmaker entered the industry and completely shook things up was Ram Gopal Verma, and after that it's Sandeep Reddy Vanga, I cannot disagree. Sanjay Gupta, who is the filmmaker of inspired movies like Kante, Zinda and Kabil, said this in a recent interview.
Recently I had gone for the trial of a film और वहाँ पे मुझे और भी filmmakers मिले, अनुराग कश्यप मिला, विक्रमादित्य मोटवानी मिला, कुछ और filmmakers मिले और सब जगह टॉपिक एनिमल है. Now life is pre and post animal. अब जो मैं मेरी नई स्क्रिप्ट पे काम कर रहा हूँ तो कहीं ना कहीं मेरे पर Animal का shadow है.
And while there are raging debates in the outside world, there's a new kind of fire raging inside the industry, inside the filmmakers, who have been blown away by the it-gaff nature of Sandeep Reddy Vanga. And these filmmakers are course-correcting themselves, constantly asking themselves when they are writing a film or a particular scene if they are holding back in any way, if they are being fearless enough or putting enough blood, sweat and tears into every little line that they write. At every point, they're asking themselves, what would Vanga do? 100% conviction, 0% concern for who's going to say what. My personal issue with Animal is the setup of the father-son bond, how that aspect gets lost along the way, especially post-interval, and this is something that I didn't like about the film. I wish Ranbir's character got killed in the end, or Anil Kapoor's character shot him or got him arrested by the police, but that's not the film that Vanga made, that's the film running in my head. But anyways, it's been such a long time since there's been such a strong cocktail of great music, powerful background score, perfect casting, staging of the scenes that make you go, what the f, and the lengths that a filmmaker can go to create this terrible character doing terrible things, saying the most ridiculous stuff over 3.5 hours, which could have easily turned it into one of the most trolled movies of all time. But that didn't happen. Despite all this, despite thinking to myself constantly what the f is happening on screen, I could not stop watching it. It's like this fresh wound that you can't stop scratching. That was the film for me, and that's what it's become for the industry. Love it or hate it, I have a feeling that 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line, most of the biggest blockbusters today will be forgotten, but the history pages will remember what this film did. Liking Animal does not make you a mental patient or a potential rapist. These are actual comments and tweets that I've seen floating around, which I personally think is ridiculous. Is the film's main character toxic? Yes, the film is called Animal for a reason. But do I support this guy's actions? No. Do I want to be like him? No. Shouldn't it be okay for people to convert the tension and anger that they go through outside the theatre to be released by this crazy character inside the theatre? Many of us have played GTA and we all know how violent those games are, and we still played them hours together day after day. But in real life, most of us would have never even been in a fight or want to be in a fight. Real life violence can be caused by so many factors, including a person's individual psychology, their upbringing, their social environment, and so many other factors, and maybe a tiny percent of the population might already have these problems. But by saying that each and every person who likes the film has mental problems, is capable of violence or rape,
what?
It means that you have no understanding of such complex topics like human psychology. You're just isolating and targeting people for their personal tastes, and most importantly, you're undermining serious issues like rape and literally stopping healthy dialogue. You can criticize the film all you want, but judging and labeling the audience as criminals just for a movie that they like, now that sounds problematic. However, Sandeep Reddy Vanga needs to move on. for a man who claims to not care about his critics, he just can't stop talking about them. It started out with directly calling out critics like Anupama Chopra, Sucharita Tyagi and Rajiv Masand, who's actually retired from film criticism, calling them illiterate, by which I hope he means cinema illiterate, which is also something I don't agree with. When legendary screenwriter Javed Akhtar pointed out the issue with the lick my shoe scene in Animal, Sandeep asked him to go question his son Farhan Akhtar for producing a series like Mirzapur, the insanely popular show which is known for its explicit language, violence and sexual content. Producer Kiran Rao spoke at a public forum last October about his previous film Kabir Singh promoting stalking, and once again Sandeep called her out in a recent interview, asking her to go question her ex-husband Aamir Khan about his 1990 film Dil, how it reduces a serious crime like rape to a joke, and how its hugely popular song Khambe Jaise Khadi Hai objectifies women. Firstly, Dil came out almost 35 years ago, and yes, it's problematic just like most films of that time. Secondly, at a public event, when questioned about the same thing, Aamir Khan himself acknowledged how insensitive his film was, including certain other films that he's made, said that he's shameful about it, and since then he's course-corrected his films post the 2000s to a large extent. Thirdly, Kiran Rao is an individual working professional, and so is Aamir Khan. So why should Sandeep ask Kiran to go ask him? Maybe they even spoke about it at home. Whatever it is, it's none of your business. And overall, while there are valid points on both sides, when there's any criticism about his work, while he claims to welcome constructive criticism, at least in these cases, he does not. Instead, he chooses to engage in Whataboutery, which is a strategy to escape responsibility by pointing out fingers and flaws in somebody else's work. So, Mr. Vanga, parts of your film's content will always be debatable, but please understand, finding faults in someone else's work does not mean that there is absolutely no fault in yours. It does not mean that you cut off any kind of discussion when there can actually be a healthy debate about serious issues that actually exist around us. And you definitely don't have to call out every single person who has the tiniest bit of criticism about your work, because if you're saying that certain critics only talk about one issue and they completely disregard the other positive points about your film, you're also doing the same thing by taking one flaw in their huge body of work or their son's work or ex-husband's work and disregarding the rest of their work as artists. So as an audience member who actually likes the artistic merits of your work, please take a break, take a holiday, move on to your next project, make more movies that piss off even more people, and please don't attack me for saying all this.